people like Alex Whittle, who just happened to stand there where there was a riot and he found himself in prison for 5 months. And Benjamin said something fabulous, I think. He said, prison is not the end. But in order to understand that, you have to be able to see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And then we had people like Sheila coming and helping those people, finding a way forward, where there was no way, where there was nothing to see, there was no beginning of the day, no end of the day, it was just trying to survive. Sheila, come and tell us more about this, please. Sheila Munroe, everybody.
I'll stand up. Stand and face the music. Hello. So I had the privilege to work briefly with Benjamin Zephaniah in the early 90s when I worked in Brixton Prison for the education department. The education department was run by Ilia, as it was then, and then by Lambeth Education. My role mainly was to edit the prison magazine called Pipeline. I'm going to give you a quick guided tour of the magazine as a backdrop to prison conditions when Benjamin Zephaniah entered the scene. He came to give support to the magazine and the education department and had a long-lasting impact on prisoners and staff alike. Prison conditions were so bad they became pretty much intolerable for the men inside and stretched us to our limits. But we supported each other as a team, and I'm very happy that 2 of my colleagues are here tonight. So, that's the front cover of the first edition of Pipeline magazine, and it got its name because there's a tradition over many centuries of prisoners sending messages through the pipes, like tapping on the pipes or voices if there was a crack in the pipe. So that's the first issue, and the contents, don't know if you can read it from here, but you can see on the bars, it's written stories, puzzles, views, within the constraints of censorship, of course, although there's subtle ways of being subversive. Art, fiction, skills, there's even a problem page, and jokes, and fun, and so on. The magazine was an outlet, a vehicle for communication and self-expression, but more than anything, the class itself was a place to air views and vent feelings. In those days, there was 23-hour bang-up, so being in class was a chance to get out of the cell and have some free association. As you know, HMP Brixton is an old Victorian building, and the classroom itself was 2 small old cells converted into one, and with barely room for 12 grown men. Sometimes it was standing room only. The atmosphere in there was febrile, or febrile, let's say febrile. Most of the men were angry, depressed, distressed by the archaic and overcrowded conditions, and stressed awaiting trial, as A-Wing, where I worked, was the remand part of the prison. Due to stop and search policies and so on, a disproportionate number of prisoners were of ethnic minority / global majority, especially those of Afro-Caribbean origins. It was also in the days of the notorious F-Wing, the prison psychiatric wing, which was like an old Victorian lunatic asylum, with prisoners locked in cells, not chained, but as good as with liquid cosh, that is, knocked out with medication, and which had the highest rate of prison suicides in the country of inmates and staff. It was always people's worst fears that if they made too much noise or got out of hand, the men in white coats would come and cart them off to F-wing, never to be seen again. So let's cover. It was also in the days of prison riots. The Strangeways prison riots in Manchester had recently happened, and sometimes it felt as if things were about to tip over in Brixton. Interestingly, in the Wolf Report, which followed the Strangeways riots, it was noted that one of the factors was the absence of education. It drew attention to the role of education in prisons as soft security. So we teachers realised that as well as helping the men inside with things like art and music and drama and writing, which could be therapeutic as well as educational, it made us realise that we teachers were ultimately helping prison security. Prisoners were on the cusp of rebellion, crying out for human rights and prison reform. We contained the riot in the classroom. Sorry. So, into this mix, enter Benjamin Zephaniah. You can imagine the reception he got. Prisoners in that dark, deep dungeon well of despair welcomed him with open arms. He was a volunteer, fellow sufferer, having served time himself, part of their struggle, a Rastafari, a brother, which was also liberating for me, a white woman doing her best in the circumstances, but still inevitably part of the colonial setup. Benjamin brought warmth, humour, understanding, as well, of course, as some poems. He spoke about not liking school and being dyslexic. Many prisoners could relate to this as well. He encouraged the men in their writing and self-expression, interacting in a very natural way and with a light touch. And he had that quality that I noticed in other Rastafarians inside, of being able to keep people calm and ground their energy. So while the inmates welcomed him with open arms, Benjamin helped to hold them at a deeper level. And for those writers on the Pipeline magazine, he was the real deal, an actual poet. Benjamin's work helped to validate poetry and poetry in prison. He helped the men find a voice and believe in themselves. I guess you could call it empowerment. And also arts activism. His lively presence was like an injection of energy that affected all of us and brought a boost to morale. After that, the magazine went from strength to strength. In 1994, it even won a national award. Butterfingers. So, it's the left side.
You should podium it tonight. Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's a bit late, but not better late than never. Sorry, bear with me, excuse me, I just need to blow my nose, I'm sorry.
Comes from crying about remembering Benjamin Zephaniah in prison, doesn't it?
So this is just a copy of the paperwork. I guess the award itself is still somewhere in the prison. But the Koestler Arts Awards, which some of you might have heard of, had a category for prison magazines. And, miraculously, Pipeline won third prize. I say miraculously because it was still quite a rough and ready production compared with other smarter, sleeker prison magazines. But I think the men's voices from Brixton jumped out of those pages. or should I say, jumped out of the pipes. Next one. There had also been technological progress. After the days of cut and paste, literally, with Pritt stick and kindergarten scissors, because no sharp implements were allowed inside, we were at last allowed a computer, a model like this Apple Classic, which I would carry into and out of the prison in a laundry bag for security reasons. This, of course, caused immense excitement amongst the men, though not quite as much as Benjamin Zephaniah's visit. Then in later years, computers were finally allowed to stay inside the prisons. These later iterations of the magazine were after my time, but it shows how it evolved into a slicker production. And you'll see there it says at the bottom of the one on the right, the magazine by prisoners for prisoners. So it was still facilitated by the education department, but the men could produce their own publication. Progress, indeed. But back to those early days. Thank you, Benjamin, for all your wonderful support. Your message says it all. To pipelines, one and all, in unity. Isn't that beautiful? And then you'll see on the left-hand side it's got a poem, because Benjamin then gave a reading of his poetry to prisoners and staff at Brixton Prison, and this is reported in the magazine, and his poem Overstanding is reproduced here. And it's such a poignant, powerful poem for prisoners, well, for all of us, with its lines, open up, open up, open up. It helps to set us free. I think we should hear it from the poet himself.
Yo, this is Benjamin Zephaniah, the poet you desire, coming right down the wire saying, yo, UK stand-up TV is the one for me, check it and love it, you see. This one is called Overstanding. Open up your mind, make some rhythm come in. Open up your brain, just some reasoning. Open up your thoughts so we can connect. Open up for knowledge and intellect. Open up the speaker, make me blast the sound. Open up the sky, make the beers come down. Open up the eyes, make you look inside if you want to understand this. Open wide. Open up your house, make the refugee come in. You might overstand and start helping. Open up your imagination. Go for a ride if you want to understand this. Open wide. Open up your fists and welcome a kiss. Get a load of this, open up business, open up your bank account and spend. Open up your wallet and check a friend. Open up the dance floor, make I dance. Open up your body and love romance. If you haven't opened up, you have not tried. If you want to understand this, open wide. Open up the border, free up the land. Open up the books in the Vatican. Open up yourself to any possibility. Open up your heart and your mentality. Open any door that you confront. Let me put it straight, sincere and blunt. Narrow-mindedness must run and hide. If you want to understand this, open wide. Yo! This is Benjamin Zephaniah saying, yo!